Folks, I don't want to like overstate this or jump to hyperbole on episode number 1, but what a horrendous day for the Pac-12. I mean, horrendous. And you might think, and I've had people tell me this already, like, hey, slow down. It's week 1. Everything can be explained. Can it? Can it? When your 3 top teams have things go drastically against them, the Pac-12 had an awful week. And for me, it started when Georgia absolutely dismantled Oregon. More on that in a moment. But really was driven home later in the day when Utah has a chance to get a win against what a lot of people think is kind of a middle-of-the-road SEC East team in the swamp. And then this happened.
Guns in for the end zone. Intercepted! Amari Burney just intercepted it. 1 yard in the end zone. And that's a W for the Gators. 29-26, the final score. Florida takes down number 7 Utah.
Oh, the heartbreak. And it was heartbreaking for Utah. There's no doubt. And just elation for Gator fans. Let's start with the immediate reaction to Cameron Rising throwing that interception late. Okay, I'm watching the game, and it gets down there, and Utah has no timeouts. There was some confusion amongst the broadcast and the actual game as to how many timeouts Utah had. But once it was established, like, no timeouts left. And I believe it was just under 30 seconds to play. And they're snapping the football. Downs aren't a problem. They've got a few snaps. There's only 2 things that a quarterback has to be thinking about. There's only 2 things, folks, that you cannot do as a quarterback in that moment. Cannot do it. Can't take a sack. You cannot turn it over. You can throw it into the second deck. You can out of the back of the end zone. Anything but a turnover there. Ask Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, right? Malcolm Brown picking that ball off in the Super Bowl. You cannot turn the ball over. As a quarterback, if you're going to throw the ball over the middle of the field, inside the 10-yard line at any point in the game, you've got to be sure that you can get that ball into the tight window. If there's any second-level player that has any chance of undercutting one of those little hook routes or an under route in the end zone, you cannot throw the ball, period. If I was coaching a quarterback, I would tell him, if there's any indecision whatsoever, if he's not wide open, if it's not perfectly on time, if it's not perfectly on rhythm, you do not throw a ball over the middle inside the 10. Man, bad things happen. Bad things happen. And Utah has a chance to win the game. At a minimum, has a chance to kick a field goal to tie the game, and he throws a pick. Just an egregious error from a player that is a really good player and had a fabulous series up until that point. Now, as I look at the entirety of the game, Utah was the better team. Okay, so Florida still has a lot of work to do. Remember, Utah is the one that made the mistakes inside the 5-yard line, inside the 10-yard line a couple of times. The goal line stands for Florida were epic. There's no doubt. You cannot rely on that. And so Utah did what it needed to do. They settled for a couple of field goals when they shouldn't. They turned the ball over inside the red zone, inside the 10. You can't do that and win the game. Okay, so Utah was the better team. Florida made the plays necessary to win. And I think any objective observer of that game would have come away with the same conclusion. Now, that being said, Anthony Richardson was a problem for Utah. They did not have the speed to deal with Richardson on the edge at all. And it's the reason that Florida was able to come back and really win that game, stay close, get that drive going late in the game, and ultimately win the game. So if I'm a Florida fan, I'm really excited about Richardson and what he did. I can't wait to continue to evaluate this guy because he's strong. He's got immense amount of talent. And I thought he was brilliant. And Utah had no answer for him. So when you couple that, when you can't defend their best player, which Utah could not, and then you make those mistakes offensively, you're going to lose the game. big win for Florida. I thought that was a massive win for Florida, and now can give them a little bit of momentum. If Richardson plays like that, by the way, they're, I think, the second best team in the SEC East right away. Okay, you can't say that they're going to be better than Georgia. Maybe they can give Georgia a better game than what they would have or what we expected them to give. But folks, like, they're better than Tennessee if he plays like that. They're better than Kentucky if he plays like that. I think that you would agree with me. Hit me up. Tell me what you think about that take. I think Florida, if Richardson continues to play that well, easily the second best team in the SEC East. All right, moving on in the Pac-12, Oregon and that beatdown. Let me tell you why this was a real downer for Oregon, is because it was not a game that got away from them late. That was an absolute drubbing from the get-go. And don't give me this crap. By the way, I've had Pac-12 fans after me because I tweeted out that, like, hey, awful day for the Pac-12. Don't give me this crap about, like, hey, it was first time head coach and Dan Lanning he's brand new. I'm sorry. Was Napier not a first time coach for Florida? Like, that's his first game at Florida. Granted, Lanning didn't have head coaching experience, but you can't have one and, like, without the other. It's tough. That's a tough weekend. That's a tough weekend for the Pac-12 and a bummer for them because I know that they had some big expectations coming in.